Hello, I'm your host, Linda Kasonde. I'm a lawyer who spent several years as an advocate for human rights, justice, and the rule of law in my native country, Zambia. This podcast was born out of the need to share women's experiences of leadership and to advocate for more women to take up leadership positions, based on themes in my memoir, Women, Resilience, and the Will to Lead. We cover topics ranging from motherhood to running for office, ambition, and managing the imposter syndrome. I hope you enjoy it. Hello, Monica.
Hi.
Welcome to this podcast, Women, Resilience, and the Will to Lead. And I'm really honored to have you here.
And thank you for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here. And like I said earlier, we do this because we want to support you. And this is really important for all of us here in Zambia and around the world. So happy to be here.
Great. We're taking a short break. We'll be right back.
At FNB's Her Banking, we believe in helping every woman rise with tailored financial solutions to meet their needs. As a female customer of FNB, you can access unsecured personal loans of up to $550,000, and you can even get 100% cashback on your loan arrangement fees. We are here to support your life journey with Her Banking. T's and C's apply. FNB, how can we help you?
How can we help you?
So we're going to dive straight in. Who is Monica Musonda?
I love the question because it's so multifaceted, and I'm going to try. Monica is a mom, a daughter, a sister. I am a corporate lawyer turned entrepreneur. I'm also a non-executive director on several boards. I am a consultant in an advisory business that I run as well. So Monica is short, busy, but also Monica is driven and ambitious and hopeful. I believe our time is now. And when I wake up every morning, I believe that, what's going to come today and what more can I do? While we still have energy, we've learned the experience, we've got great contacts, we've got to do stuff. And so I'm really, as I said, hopeful for the future and willing to be a part of everything.
That is why she's here, folks. So, Monica, you've done a TED Talk called Don't Happily Be a Spectator in Your Own Economy. Could you tell us, did that ethos influence the creation of Java Foods?
Great. So I did a TED Talk in 2015. I had actually started Java Foods in 2012. So I had 3 years of running a startup and of the pain of doing something I really didn't know, moving back to Zambia where I hadn't lived for many, many years, and really just being dedicated to try to lift up this great idea I had, right? And so I did it with a lot of, and I'll tell you a story actually if I can. When I landed in London to do the talk, I got to the airport, I was raising money to fund the expansion of the business. And I got to the airport and turned on my phone and I got a message from the advisor and he said, actually, the people we were talking to had actually declined and said they were no longer going to continue. So I remember saying to myself that how do I stand in front of all these people and tell a story of great entrepreneurship, of drive, of really wanting to succeed when I had my first setback. But I put it beside, I sort of thought, okay, I'll deal with that when I get to Zambia. I've come all this way and I'm going to tell the truth. The truth about what happens on the ground and why actually the reason it's been so hard is that I'm alone, and that things are not going to change for us in Zambia unless we all get up and challenge ourselves and really be part of our growth of our country, right? And I was able to do that, and I didn't think I did very well. So when it was actually released, I was so surprised.
I loved it.
I know, I was so surprised. Honestly, I was nervous, and there were some great speakers that day. It was really a great experience, but it was really the truth. It was the truth that today, and it still stands today, if we want change for ourselves, we have to be a part of it. It will never be for us if we're not part of the making.
Absolutely.
So it didn't actually influence the business, but it was very much telling the story of how far we had come.
Friends of mine will tell you I have an Oprah story for everything.
Yes.
And when Oprah left the Oprah Winfrey Show to set up her own network, when it started off, it didn't do well. In fact, it was doing very badly in the ratings. And she'd been invited to Harvard to give a commencement speech a year in advance. And she said to herself, you know what? By the time I get to that Harvard commencement speech, I would have turned this thing around. So that was her motivation.
Right.
And now we're still speaking about her being successful in her own business. Yeah. So, which brings us to the issue of tenacity. I saw you post about it recently. What does that word mean to you? And what was the biggest setback you faced, maybe aside from the one that you mentioned?
Story, yeah. So tenacity is a great term which all entrepreneurs know, even if they don't know it by name, because they live it. They live it because tenacity is about persistence, consistency in what you need to do to achieve what you said you were going to do, or what the great business idea was. Despite challenges, despite being taken off the road, it's the tenacity to wake up every morning, to keep on going, the persistence to look, that's where I want to go, and keep on going. And I put it up there because when I saw the quote, it just reminded me, it said everything, it said, it actually spoke to me because it's now 11 years of not earning, not working for somebody, working for Java, for myself, building a brand. It's been 11 years. And so through many a setback, we kept on going, right? And now we've got this great company, employs almost 100 people, a really strong brand, really great culture, So when you talk about setbacks, I have many, I can tell you. When I first started, for instance, we went out and we basically wanted to test the market. We didn't know anything. We didn't know anything. We just knew that no one had two heads. And so we would either learn, and even if we failed, we'll have learned something. So we went out and we went to China and basically bought a whole bunch of noodles to test the market. 2012, we didn't know if anyone was going to eat these noodles, right? And we went and bought quite a lot of noodles. And they asked me, so what's your expiry date? I didn't even know that. I didn't know how long food needed to be on shelf for. If the shelf life mattered. I didn't know where you needed to put it. So all these things, but we did it anyway, right? And then when it landed finally in Zambia in my warehouse, it had 3 months left and literally was expiring just before me. So you had lost money. I had taken the biggest risk by just leaving my job. I had put all my money into testing this product and figuring out how we could use it, and now lost money because it was just about to expire in my warehouse. And we're new, so people are not buying you like it's hot cake, right? So then I went and spoke to people who were helping me in terms of strategy and mentorship. I said, what do I do? And he was like, when with spilled milk, condense it. So basically we went out to teach people how to eat noodles. So we opened them out before the expiry date and said, this is how you cook it. So we were everywhere you can think of. I was everywhere where you can think of. I was in compounds. I was saying, this is a noodle. Because if you spoke to someone, they said, what is this? I was like, is it a biscuit? Then we thought, okay, we actually have a lot of consumer awareness to do. So we used those first set of instant noodles that came to kind of plant the seed and do consumer awareness. It was expensive, by the way, but we learned a lot. We learned to ask questions. We learned to ask, what is the packaging like? How long does the product take if you manufacture it and you send it to me? We learned to ask even how to get it into our warehouse. We learned to ask our customer, when do they needed it? It needed shelf life of so much. So we also grew from our failures, right? And we had many business failures, but we've grown since. We've grown a lot 11 years later. And now it's not just about me. I have people who are smarter than me, who know FMCG much better than myself, who advise me. So we're in a much better place now.
Excellent. That reminds me of Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs' philosophy was to create the demand in the market for the product that they were making. So that's what you did essentially.
Yes.
Maybe there were noodles in Zambia before that, but nobody was talking about them. They weren't a common household food item. So you've really revolutionized the market in that sense.
And it's great what you've said, because I think a lot of people take the market for granted, and that's what happened. So you're absolutely right. There were noodles on the shelf, but they didn't speak to a Zambian market. The people put it on the shelf and thought, well, they'll buy it. But actually Zambians didn't know it was for them, didn't know how to make it. None of the noodle companies were advertising. And also the taste was different, It was a microwave noodle. As you know, many Zambians actually cook noodles on the stovetop because microwaves are not not every in everyone's home. And secondly, we have a lot of students who don't even have electricity. And so we had to teach people our way of eating this convenient food. And guess what? In like 3 years later, we couldn't bring the product in fast enough. And that informed our decision to manufacture locally.
Which brings me to another word created by Alistair Campbell, who used to be former British Prime Minister Tony Blair's spin doctor. So he's created this word perseverance. So perseverance and resilience. And that's one of the themes in my book, resilience. And certainly you've proven yourself to be extremely resilient. So well done.
Thank you.
So you've been a practicing lawyer, in-house counsel. Now you're an entrepreneur. When people ask me what I would tell my younger self or what advice I'd give to young people, I often say there's no such thing as a wasted experience. And so I think you've really embodied that in your journey. Could you just tell us what you've taken from law that you've carried with you into entrepreneurship?
So I was very lucky when I was a lawyer, and I think many people might not know, I've been very privileged to work in several countries and several jurisdictions. As you said, as in-house counsel, in private practice, across the world. And what that taught me a lot was, one, that first, network was important. You provide a service as a lawyer, and it's how you come across to your clients. Are you confident? Do you understand what they're going through, what they're trying to achieve? Are you able to give a solution within the time frame, within the budget? And all that was what the law taught me. The law taught me how to manage clients, how to manage relationships, how to build relationships. And it taught me also to, across the board, many countries, because people are so different, cultures are so different. They say, the Japanese listen and it should not be interrupted, whereas the Nigerians are boisterous and they want to get a point across. And how do you handle all that without sort of taking away from them? So I take that from the law. The law I had a great time. I worked at the pinnacle of my career. I was general counsel to a very big manufacturing conglomerate. There wasn't a bank I didn't know, an international bank that I didn't know. I met CEOs of some of the top investment banks because we raised a lot of money. And this is like in New York, basically. I met top lawyers, I met equipment manufacturers, and I met a lot of high net worth individuals, So it was a really great time to build network. And it still helps today. When I turned around and started the business, people were first surprised to say, how could you leave all this behind? But I wanted to be home. I wanted to really be a part of my own country and, the growth of Zambia. But also they were very helpful. Because they trusted the interactions we had. They kind of saw the person I was. I think integrity is a big issue, performance, trust. And they were like, we know you'll succeed. How can we help? Do you need a contact in China? Do you need access to financing? Maybe I can call that gentleman for you. So it was a lot of support, which I still enjoy today, 11 years after leaving the law.
Monica, you were the first person that I heard use the phrase, your network is your net worth. And now it's pretty commonplace in Zambia.
Yes,
I think you actually brought it here.
I think it was in a magazine, actually. I did an interview, right, for Alchemy. And I think that was where it was quoted. Yeah. But it's so true. And I was still general counsel then. And it's true, because think about, Linda, I know you agree with it. Because I'm sure there isn't a phone call you can't make today to any of the Tutu fellows, right? Who would say, yes, you're a Tutu fellow, Linda, what do you need? That's your network, right? So it is true. And I think that's a lesson for people around us, particularly the young people, about living purposefully, with integrity, managing your relationships properly. If you say, I will see you at 5, please see them at 5, or apologize to say why you're late, so people know, actually, it's unusual that she's late or he's late, because they're always on time, they're always respectful. Or you borrow money, pay it back. If you have a problem, communicate. Those are all about integrity, which comes back much later when you have a business and you need to borrow some big bucks. And the person say, but that guy actually never paid back money when they were at school. Simple things like that which reflect on your character. So I'm very privileged. I had a really great run, you know.
That's wonderful. You know, we earlier talked about what advice I give to younger people, my own, the younger version of me. What would you say to young women coming up today?
Today, I think I'll say be prepared to work hard, you know. Yes, things are definitely easier, the door is opening, but do not be disappointed if it's still that much harder. I think I want to be as factual as possible. I think I would never say, and because I have a young daughter, I think I would never say, you know what, it's 100 years since things are easier. Things are different, but things are still harder, that you still have to work that much harder to prove yourself.
As a woman.
But it is not impossible. That they will see your hard work, that you will be rewarded for it, and you will feel your sense of purpose and achievement through it. But do not be discouraged, because I think a lot of the times we hold ourselves back. I was mentoring a young girl who's got an exceptional career ahead of her. She must be maybe 28, and she's an accountant, and she got the opportunity to go and work in the US, and her first comment was like, I can't leave Zambia. I said, why? You're brilliant. No, it's only 6 months. I mean, it'll be like that. Every reason for her not to do it, she gave. And I actually don't know if she's gone. And I was like, oh my God. You know, people kill for this opportunity. And if you're a guy, he wouldn't have thought twice, right? So we hold ourselves back because sometimes it feels too difficult. Will things be the same when I come back? Yes, if things might change, life is going to change. Yes, it might be better, but it could be so much better for you if you take this opportunity. Imagine what she would build, the bridges she could build working in the US office, her experience, right? Just propel her to a more senior position when she comes back. So I think don't be afraid, appreciate the fact that things are hard, and you have to work hard. Don't ever think that it's going to be easy. There's nothing easy. It is hard. Every success is hard work.
And maintaining success is
even harder. I agree with that.
Yeah. You know, when you were talking about the advice you'd give to your younger self, which is essentially to work very hard, because as women, we really have to prove ourselves to a higher degree than men do. Another one of my favorite Oprahisms is when you do your best, people will notice. And I found that to be so true.
Right?
Yes.
Right, I agree with that.
You were telling me about the gentleman you worked with at Clifford Chance, who, you know, when you were working with him, there wasn't much contact, or he wasn't very close to you. But decades later, he remembered you when he was coming to Zambia.
No jokes, no jokes. And as I said, you remember I was probably the smallest one in the office, the most inexperienced, coming out of Africa, you know, intimidated by all these sort of, you know, Oxbridge degrees. And 20 years later, he still was able to call out and say, I know a young lawyer who works for me. Might you know her? And here we are today. And we have such a great working relationship today. And he was my boss, you know. So I always say to him now, joking like that, you started it all, because it really brought the work ethic, the ambition. I wanted to be this great lawyer because of what I saw, you know, a successful lawyer. So it was great.
Excellent, excellent. So back to your current role as a CEO of Java Foods, making our favorite easy noodles.
Yay!
What would you say is a difficult aspect of being a CEO of a big company that perhaps people looking from the outside in might not be able to appreciate?
So I'm so glad you call it a big company, because I think I'm really proud of that it's now a big company, 100 people. I'll tell you, the hard thing was building the culture. We had to build the culture from scratch. How do we define ourselves as a business? What are we known for? How do we engage each other? Are we a young business or old business? Are we on a first name basis? You know, we had to create this environment, but also we had to manage. We had to show leadership. And I thought that was interesting, because I feel that sometimes as Zambians, we tend not to be very confrontational. So we find it very hard to say hard things. You know, I have one employee who, when he says something difficult, because he struggles with it, I say, that was bitter coming out of your mouth, right? So one of the hard things I find is just being the leader, doing the hard things, having those difficult conversations about, actually, you're not you won't make it with us. You're not the person we want to employ because you don't fit into who we are. Having those sorts of discussions, or, you know, you didn't perform very well, or going through disciplinaries. But, you know, because you laugh on a daily basis and it's really great environment, and then you have to do the tough things. And I've had to pull myself back sometimes, and then, you know, to put on the big girl pants, as they say, and have difficult discussions. And it's perhaps easier for me because I have that character and I've come from that environment. That's another thing law teaches you, to be kind of very direct. But I see the struggle in some of my management team who are just that less confrontational, a bit Zambian because you're a bit passive aggressive. You don't quite say it, but your actions will say how you feel, and you hope the person next door understands your actions. It's not the way you do things. It's not the way high performing big businesses act, because you need a decision, you need to be clear, the person needs to understand your feedback, understand how to do better, or understand, actually, this is the last day, right? And we know how to move on from here. So I think I found that has been difficult, and I've had to also take courses around giving feedback. I've also had to take leadership courses, because again, I came from an environment where I was part of a team. I was part of an existing team. I created this team, right? And so I had to now put in place structures and policies and practices which suited our environment. So it's really, those has been the hard thing, but also very fulfilling. You know, really fulfilling about how we treat each other, how the business has grown, the culture, as I said. So lots of really great learnings from it, but sometimes very difficult discussions.
So how would you describe the culture at Java Foods?
Yeah, I'd say youthful. We are open. I don't close my door, for instance. And I've heard people say that, you just walk into our office if you have a problem, because our door is always open. And I didn't realize it was part of a culture, but it actually is. If my door is closed, it means I'm on a call. But otherwise, my door is always open. You can come in and speak, because we have a very open sort of dialogue, open plan, open first name basis. I think for the much older employees, they always, I think, because of who we are as Zambians, very respectful. They'll say Mr., but they'll use the first name. You know, but it's that kind of environment. We like young people. We're a youthful brand. We also appreciate where we're going. So we are ambitious, we're driven, we believe, you know, we believe that we can be so much bigger than we are. And we're proudly Zambian, you know. It might not be a thing for many people, but everybody at works for me looks like me and you, by the way. There's many a time people walk in my office and say, so where's the boss? I am the boss. And people are surprised at that, because oftentimes in many of the big businesses, you expect to see someone else of a different race or color, and that's it makes the business succeed. But we want to say, actually, businesses run by Zambians at this level can succeed. You guys can run businesses of this level and do better than Java, because the opportunities will be so much better, right? And I think that's what we demonstrate, and that's what we demonstrate in the people who work for us as well. And they believe it. They do believe it. They drank the Kool-Aid.
Brilliant. So excellence. I love that. I love that. And what would you say, because I know that just before you came to Zambia to set up Java Foods, you were working in Nigeria for Dangote. And as you've described earlier, that was a different culture. Perhaps people are far more willing to confront each other. How was it transitioning back to a culture which is non-confrontational? Because I remember you posting about this, about culture, and I was curious about how you handled that, and two, I was curious about how you scale it. You know, starting from a small team and building up to 100.
It's such a great question, right? Because you have to definitely be adaptable. That's leadership. I think you have to adapt very quickly. You learn, you listen, and you see and you adapt. I think that's first of all about leadership. So you're very right. Nigeria is very intense. It is very fast-paced. Huh? You don't do things tomorrow, you do things today because tomorrow has another issue. When things are delegated to you, you deliver, right? No excuses, you go and get it. There's no, etc. I found when I started the business, actually, the difficulty was one, not speaking to them so we understood each other, that it was a team effort. You know, I was not barking an order and telling you have to do, but I was speaking to you to understand the task and saying how can we execute this. So it was definitely spending a lot more time trying to explain what we expected, the expectation, what was to come out, and also really kind of following it up. I think I found that I had to do a lot of that, whereas I didn't see that in Nigeria. And maybe it's the nature of a startup, right? So nothing to do with culture. But I found that I had to learn to speak differently in the way I wanted things to be executed. I had to also, clarity, you learn to speak differently. Say, I want this, please give me the blue thing. Please give me the blue cup on the left-hand side of the table. So there's no ambiguity and you have clear instructions. And that's how you get through. I found that you have to be clear, you give deadlines, and you also follow up. So people understand they're part of the process to achieve the result we want to achieve. What do you think? I had to adapt. It took a while though. I mean, many a time I could just say, why are we not moving? Why is this person not understanding that this is so important? It's the puzzle, it's the piece in the puzzle that gets us across the street or something, And then I realized that people just were repelled by some of the sort of go. They want to go, but they want you to kind of take them with you to go.
Ease them.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah. So now I have a few people who are go, and now I'm maybe slightly. If I joke because I have the guy in my office who I'm like, you are becoming Zambian now, because now he's a little bit more relaxed and he's like, okay, I'll follow it up next week. I said, why? Even I have a team that went to China last week, and the visa came out on Monday, and they're like, yeah, we'll go on the 25th. I was like, but the visa came out yesterday, so why are you not going tomorrow? There's no reason why. There's a plane every day to China. Why are you not going tomorrow? Oh yeah, there's no reason why we can't go tomorrow. Just kind of, because you just don't know what happens, right? So I still have a little bit of a, kicking attitude, and not everyone is comfortable with that. But it is, it's one of the good things I learned from it. And in fact, my Nigerian friends think I'm too soft now. I said, Zambia has made you soft, right? So, but I think I hope I've imparted that into the people who I work with about just let's go. We have to win. Let's keep on going, right? Yeah.
And was there something in your experience as an entrepreneur that surprised you? It was a good surprise. About working in the manufacturing industry?
Not giving up. As I said, I had several failures. Even on a personal level, it's really lonely. Yeah? I don't have a co-founder. I mean, if you read a lot of the books around entrepreneurship, they'll say, have a co-founder with you. Have someone who is your wingman. And I didn't have that. So for many, many years, you feel like you're badly beaten. You're in the boxing ring and you're being badly beaten. So it was hard in those years, and very lonely, and you had to go through things on your own, So I went through a lot of things which people probably don't know, and we just kept on going, and that surprised me about myself, because it's not like I didn't have other options, When I first decided to set up the business, I said, well, if it didn't work, and I said this to my parents, I just go get a job. I think the chances are someone's going to hire me. I'm fairly, very well experienced, got many years of experience. It's not impossible. I can get a job. But despite that, even in the darkest days, we got up and still went to work to get this business up and running. So I think that surprised me, right? The resilience.
Resilience, perseverance. Yes. I think we've discussed this to some extent earlier, but is there something specific that you gained from having been exposed, working in different cultures, countries, markets, that maybe you can share with us?
Look, so not just cultures, even different people, different professions, right? There's so much you learn from others, Linda. I think we tend to stay in our own groups, I went to school at this school, so I only have friends from this school. you'll be surprised even here if you just have friends who are a few accountants, and what are they reading and what are they talking about, what you can learn from others, right? You know, what books people are reading now. I mean, right now people are discussing a lot of issues around mental health and how we deal with it. Even me in my business, how are we going to address, how do we make sure everyone is okay? That they're coming 100% because they are 100%, right? And if I didn't step out of what I know, I wouldn't know how people are handling it, what other people are doing around it. So I think it's been, it's so important that you gain and learn from others. And I've been very fortunate, as I say, but people shouldn't think it's only about going abroad or working for big companies elsewhere. Even here, you can learn from others' experiences. You just got to be open-minded. You must ask. I think also another thing is we're afraid to ask because we think maybe they'll be offended by the question. But I've asked a lot of people some questions and they'll be like, thank you for asking me that question because nobody asks me that, right? You'll be surprised at simple questions and how refreshed you'll feel, like, gosh, that person said this and I'll remember that next time, you know? So, yeah.
I've said to some of my staff when they go, maybe they've been given an opportunity to attend a workshop outside of the country. I say to them, don't sit with Zambians, sit with people from other countries so that you can learn something. Because those Zambians will be there when you come back home. So absolutely, I think exposure is extremely important. Now you touched on mental health. And you're concerned about the well-being of your employees, but I'm sure your personal mental health is also important. And recently I saw you post on Twitter, now X, unfortunately, that it was a quotation which unfortunately is not cited, but it says, "Some talk to you in their free time and some free their time to talk to you. Learn the difference." And clearly that rang true for you. Why was that?
So look, I think it comes down to you make time for what's important, right? You are important, your family is important, your work is also important, but it's also about drawing the balance, you know, and also prioritizing. I think a lot of the time, because we're on the go, we forget ourselves, we forget what is important. And, you know, yeah, we're busy, but make time. And I think as I've gotten older now, there's so many times when I think, actually, I can stop, get off the bike, and I can take Friday off because nothing is going to burn down, right? They'll be okay. I can take the week off, right? I can actually go and enjoy myself, right? Go and read the book or spend time with people who really matter to me, you know, before you didn't see it, right? And also it's okay to share when it's really difficult, because I think before you didn't. And that's why I kind of feel that if you make time and you prioritize, it changes a big deal. But you also have to know who you're speaking to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's also a really important quote. But those who free their time to talk to you, that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
You are a very accomplished woman. Of all your achievements, your personal achievements, what would you say has been the most satisfying?
Gosh, my most satisfying is being a mom.
Oh.
Yeah. I say this to a lot of people. I was a late bloomer. I had my daughter in my early 40s, and honestly struggled through it, and almost didn't think I was going to be a mom, you know, but it was something I really wanted to do, and persisted in the probably most not conventional ways, perhaps. And I am the proud. My daughter's almost 6.
Wow.
And she's bright, she's ambitious, and I've got friends who always say, this is your child, because she says stuff, you know, we're like, okay, and she's very confident, and she's worldly, and she's a leader amongst her friends, you know, and she tries things, and I love that, because, my big thing, Linda, is now my whole life and my purpose has changed, because now I want to live a life that she can build on, that she can grow from, that I am present for her, that she can learn from me. I must. That's my job now, you know. Everything else doesn't matter. My job is to give her that. My job is not to make sure I buy a flat and she doesn't suffer, by the way. That's not my job. I think there's a lot of, I'm building a nest egg for my kid. That's not what I'm doing, actually. I am giving her a world of experience, exposure. I am being present. We're talking. I hope we'll be friends. I really do. I mean, she's 6 right now. I'm her mom, and I hope we'll be friends and we'll be able to have honest, candid discussions. And I hope she'll grow into this ambitious, generous-hearted, kind woman who, the world of her oysters. So that's my proudest achievement. I'm so blessed to have her. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
We're taking a short break. We'll be right back.
At FNB's Her Banking, we believe in helping every woman rise with tailored financial solutions to meet their needs. As a female customer of FNB, you can access unsecured personal loans of up to $550,000, and you can even get 100% cashback on your loan arrangement fees. We are here to support your life journey with Her Banking. T's and C's apply. FNB, how can we help you?
How can we help you?
So, Monica, we've come to the very last question. And I think it might be a little bittersweet. So you told me that you've recently come back from Nigeria, where you went to pay your last respects to your friend Herbert Wigwe, who was the CEO of Access Bank. And you mentioned to me that although he died fairly young, and I remember seeing so many people post about it on LinkedIn and various other platforms. And it looked to me, from somebody who didn't know him well, that this man had a huge impact in his life, in his quite short life. And when we started the conversation, I asked who you are, Monica. And so my last question to you is, what do you want your legacy to be? Because I think when we started off, you said really what you are more than who you are.
Okay.
And I think it's Harvard professor Arthur Brooks who talks about eulogy virtues versus CV virtues. So your eulogy virtues are what you want to be remembered for by the people whom you love. So what are those things? How do you want to be remembered?
Yeah, so thanks very much for bringing up Herbert. And he has a great legacy, I've got to say, and he's left very big, prints in the sand. And it does make you think, are we doing enough about our legacy? But definitely I have thought about the legacy I wish to leave. And I thought about it very early when I started the business, because why was I doing it? I didn't need to do it. I didn't need to come and, lose all my money on this, great idea. And I go back to that. And for me, what I want to be remembered for was, stepping out of the popular or the comfort and doing something uncomfortable, building a great business and building great Zambian brands, right? I also want to be remembered for inspiring the next generation of women leaders to take the step, not to be afraid, to take the strength from within. Because we all have it. I tell you, Linda, there are women out there, young girls out there, who are much braver than us, and they just need to be encouraged, right? And they will do great things. By the way, I say to my daughter every morning, what are you going to be? And she says, great.
Oh,
absolutely.
love it.
Every morning. And she has positive affirmations. She says them every morning. I am brave. I am courageous. I am beautiful. And we make her say them, right? But every time I leave her, I always say, what are you going to be today? Great. These young women, the legacy we must leave is that we have opened the door for them to be great. And I really hope I've done that. I really hope that people will say that, Monica Musonda, I know her. She started this business, but she inspired us to do more. to be better, to do great things. I really hope that will be the case, you know. But it's been and I hope my story's not finished. And of course that's left to God when He feels that we have done what we came to do. And very much is the same with Herbert. I think Herbert at 56, but God said, well done, you know, you have run your race and you come home. But it's the rest of us to run our race. So I hope that we all think about that. That's a great question, Linda, and I hope we can all think about it with focus and seriousness and know that we should be leaving legacies, positive legacies, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Monica, I think you are currently doing exactly what you aspire to do. You're such a role model for so many of us. I know personally for myself, I watch you daring bravely, as they say, pioneering in the manufacturing field as an entrepreneur, as a woman boss, and you are doing it. You are doing it, and we really appreciate the role model that you are.
Thank you.
And Amara is so lucky.
Oh, thank you. You should say it louder because sometimes she thinks she's not. She's like, Mom, you know. But thank you. Thank you for having me, Linda. And thank you for doing this, actually. So, you know, we don't tell enough of our stories and we don't tell the personal side. Remember I said that to you? I think the questions are so much more business related. What are your challenges in the business? But no one asks, what are your challenges, Monica? What are your dreams? So I do appreciate that you've done this and that you invited me. Thank you again.
It's been an absolute pleasure. You didn't disappoint. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a wonderful episode. We've really enjoyed having Monica with us, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you for tuning in to Women, Resilience and the Will to Lead. I'd like to thank our production team, Keen Kings Media, and our sponsors, F&B Zambia. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and press the subscribe button.